So Feyre is a 19-year-old girl hunting in the woods in the middle of winter. She's out there with the tiniest waist I has ever seen, not because she's a baddie, but because poverty. And while she's contemplating the possibility of starving to death, salvation in the form of a cute deer appears. And while she's salivating at the sight of her next meal, a suspiciously giant wolf the size of a small horse that is in no way possibly a possible fairy that can curse her and her entire bloodline due to its magic and some ancient treaty shows up also hunting the deer. While very seriously contemplating whether or not to kill the After killing the wolf, she skins it, takes the pelt, kills the deer, and takes them back to her crumbling cottage to save her family from starvation. And they go, meh, I need new shoes. I need a new cloak. Has anyone seen my cane? Apparently, Feyre and her family used to be wealthy, but due to Daddy's poor financial decisions, creditors crippled his leg and they lost everything they had, which is a life no one but Feyre adapted to in 8 years. Darwin would be so disappointed. But instead of ditching them due to a promise Feyre made to her dying mother to always take care of her older sisters, she stays during a time when tensions were rising between the mortals and the Fae. Even though the eldest Nesta is the poster child for being the bitchiest bitch, refusing to do essential life tasks because she's above menial labor, Elaine, the second eldest, while she doesn't have any animosity, she's truly clueless and thoughts of helping don't cross her mind. Or thoughts of any kind, for that matter. And Daddy, well, he's just the source of everyone's trauma. And just when she's deep in thought about painting, murderers! A mythical fae creature breaks into their shack, calling them out for killing his wolf friend, saying Feyre owed him a life for a life according to the ancient magical fae treaty that was created during the ancient magical fae human war hundreds of years ago. And he could either gut her in the front yard of their shed, or she could abandon the mortal realm to live out her days. What, like as a slave? No, to just waste away in the dungeons? No, just exist. Leading her family to come to her defense against this immortal almighty beast. Just kidding, they said, hey, what's that? What? So Feyre gets whisked off to the Fae lands of Perinthian, where this beast transforms into the sexy, sullen, powerful Tamlin, who is doting, caring, an anti-war mysterious warrior with a heart of stone and a complicated family backstory where he was unloved and underappreciated. I sense an incoming trauma bond! So she gets to live in this luxurious mansion where she meets his right-hand man Lucian, who is snarky, sarcastic, and funny, and a complete ride or die. Love this man. And at this castle, she gets 3 luxury meals a day, expensive clothes, and gets to paint whenever she wants, which I feel inclined to mention as she has internal soliloquies about doing every other paragraph throughout the entire duration of this 430-something page book. Yet all she wants to do is go back to her unappreciative family so she can warn them about the fairy plague causing magic to go haywire and evil to run rampant. But after some coaxing from Tam, she puts that thought aside and forms her trauma bond. And over the course of a couple of months, we find out that she lives in the Spring Court, and Lucy and Tamlin are high fae, meaning they are better than other fae, with Tammy being the High Lord of the Spring Court, or basically the god of spring. There are 7 courts in total, the seasonal courts, the time of day courts, each with their own respective High Lords, which she might end up meeting at this Project X level party they are hosting to prepare for the next year of spring. At least she would meet them if she was allowed to attend, as Tamlin places her on house arrest, ordering her to lock herself in her room and stay there until morning, as this party might be dangerous for a human. No high fae for Feyre! But as is a common motif with this character, all warnings given to her are nary more a suggestion, which gets her into constant trouble, necessitating constant saving. So she peeps this ritual where Tamlin, being the almighty spring provocateur, was to get provocative with a woman at the ceremony after he gets possessed with all the power of spring so the earth could be fertilized or something. Then there's to be a giant orgy, I guess? I don't know, it's a little unclear. But before things get juicy, she is dragged into the woods by evil fairies with eviler intentions before being saved by Mr. Tall, Dark, and Handsome, who drops a sultry warning, then leaves. Lucian then finds her, takes her home, where he explains how Tamlin is going to violently pollinate the earth with his fertilizer, and she's like, maybe I? No. So Feyre stays in her room until 2 a.m. when Tamlin comes back into the house after scenting her in the garden. He kibidons her, bites her in the neck like a dog, does a couple of body waves on her before disappearing off into the night. A while later, Mr. Tall, Dark, and Handsome named Reason, High Lord of the Night Court, returns to meander through the Spring Court, shiver everyone's timbers, force Tam and Lucy to submit at his feet before demanding Feyre tell him her name. And for once, she actually uses her brain, the only time in the entire book if I'm being honest, and she gives him a fake name, the name of her old neighbor Claire. Due to the veiled threats Reason made, Tamlin said Feyre needed to go back home to the mortal realm, treaty be damned, where she will be safe. Then they do the do, he professes his love for her while she gives him a blank stare before skedaddling back to her cottage. She arrives home to her entire family being brainwashed by Tamlin to think she went to live with a wealthy, dying aunt who left them her entire fortune. So instead of living in a 2x4 outhouse, they now have a mansion, servants, and her dad's leg has miraculously healed, all gifts from Tamlin. So everyone is happy, life is good, but then Nesta goes up to Feyre and was like, I know everything. Turns out Nesta being a bitch actually served a purpose, and with the sheer power of her stubborn will, she resisted the glimmer of one of the most powerful fae in the universe who can seamlessly manipulate time and space. Then years of torment and resentment is miraculously healed through the power of sisterhood and all the scandalous deeds about everything between her and Tammy. Then one random night at dinner, Elaine was like, oh yeah, by the way, do you remember our old neighbor Claire? Well, she's like missing, whole family dead, set on fire actually. No one knows what happened, and it coincidentally happened just the day before you actually arrived. Feyre's like, wow, yeah, that's so weird. Oh, what's that? I think I hear another sick aunt that needs my help. Got a blast. And by the way, y'all might want to beef up security or possibly leave everything behind to sail to another universe, if possible. And Nesta, knowing about the Fae shenanigans, knows what's going on and is like, bet. Then, after arriving to Tamlin's obliterated estate, she finds Alice, her handmaiden, who spills the tea on the blight cursing the land. And it's not a what, it's a who. A bad bitch named Amarantha who hates humans and wants to destroy all of them. Rightfully so, if you ask me. Who 50 years ago played buddy-buddy with the High Lords to gain their trust, then takes half of everyone's power and creates her own court under the mountain, self-appointing herself queen and ripping out our man Lucy's eye. Then shamelessly goes to Tam and is like, so how about we forget about all that and you become my boy toy? And Tam is like, generous, but pass. And Miss Girl does not take rejection well. So because Tam decided to have bodily autonomy, all of Spring Court is forced to wear masks and is doomed. Until Tam can find a girl that meets certain criteria to break the curse. And if he doesn't break the curse in time, jail, straight away. The condition for breaking the curse, get a human girl who is a fae killer to fall in love with him. Meaning that all that had to take place was... But now we are stuck with the one person who needed saving from every character in the book at least once to break a 50-year-old curse from the most powerful being in Parinthia who's holding everyone hostage. What could go wrong? Well, nothing, as according to Alice, Feyre only needs to follow 3 rules to make it out from under the mountain, in addition to whatever Amarantha subjects her to. 1, don't trust anyone. 2, don't make any deals with the fairies. And 3, don't drink the wine. So she goes under the mountain to confront Amarantha and save her boothang, and treats the 3 rules like required objectives to get to the final boss. Don't trust anyone. Don't make deals with the fairies. Don't drink the wine. Become an alcoholic for 3 months. Woohoo! But Amarantha's like, ha ha ha, not so fast. You must first pass my tests. Option 1, you can gain immediate freedom if you answer my riddle correctly, or you can go through 3 months of hell, chores, and 3 deadly trials. So what'll it be? Death trials it is! So Feyre's first trial is to kill Worm, easy. Second, solve a puzzle by reading. Doesn't sound too hard, right? Except for the fact Feyre is painfully illiterate. Bet you wish you took Tam Tam up on his multiple offers to teach you how to read now, don't you, Feyre? And the third is to kill 3 fairies, but caveat, one of those fairies is your boyfriend. And through all of the trials, only 2 people come to her aid. Of course, the only 2 people who have shown genuine concern for her safety the entire time in Parinthia, Lucy and Rhysand. Lucian, due to his ride or die nature, helps her more openly family and was repeatedly punished for it, while Rhysand is more suave and couth. And he strikes a deal with Feyre for her to spend 1 week in the Night Court every month for eternity in exchange for his healing services. And brain cells, apparently, because Feyre became a lot less stupid during this entire part of the book. So she goes through all of the death trials with Rhysand helping her until she gets to the final trial of either dying or stabbing her boyfriend in the heart. So she stabs him in the heart, lovingly, as she calls Amarantha's bluff about him dying. Turns out he actually has a heart of stone and doesn't die, making Amarantha go, well, I never said I would set you free immediately, and you didn't solve the riddle, so ha. Then she proceeds to break every bone in Feyre's body. Rhysand tries to help but fails miserably, but at least he tries. Right, Tamlin? Then, with her last dying breath, she says, love. It's love. The answer to the riddle. With that, there's this flash of light. Tammy busts it down in beast form, kills Amarantha, subsequently ending her rule and freeing all of Fae kind, making all the High Lords say, wow, thanks, human. And they each give her a piece of their power, turning her into a High Fae, which is making her deal with Rhysand far more tantalating. Now we know that she has eternity to get to know him with her now immortal lifespan. Then they all go home. So overall, I think this book was good for the most part. Some of it kind of dragged on for me, and it was a little bit hard to get into. I could only get this book on Audible for a free trial. I didn't want to buy it because I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. And I had it on 2.4 speed the entire time. And even then, I still wanted to skip some parts. Book talk, please don't come for me. I really did want to love this book, but it just kind of fell flat. Overall, I liked Feyre. I didn't like her stubborn pride in every turn and complete adverseness to survival the second she crossed the wall. Painting being mentioned every 3 seconds was also tiring. Like, okay, we get it. She's an artiste. I don't have Alzheimer's. I wasn't going to forget every other page. But generally, I did like her personality, especially since she could show strength when she really needed to. And maybe after going through the hardships of these trials, she'll be a little bit less stupid with her decision making. We'll have to see. I don't know. But what I will never understand her for is liking Tamlin. Lucy was right there and they had way more chemistry in a pinky finger than Tammy had with her the entire book. The romance was really hard to get into. I love a broody male lead as much as the next girl, but his character just fell kind of flat for me. I am a cynical person, so I wasn't into the romance really to begin with, but as soon as I heard the details of the curse, all of a sudden, all of his actions, all of his words, they seemed very performative. Like, am I supposed to believe that without this curse, he would have actually loved her and sought her out? I don't think so. So because of this, the romance between them really wasn't doing it for me, especially when compared to Rhysand. What a man. He helped her far more than anyone. They had a lot of witty banter. I just love a sarcastic kind of dark male lead, and he was giving it to me. He was very alluring. They also confided in each other. Like, she said that she didn't have to hold herself back with him like she found herself doing with Lucien and Tamlin. That was a huge reason as to why I like them together, because you should be able to confide in your partner. I also liked that moments from her time with Tamlin came back full circle with Rhysand. So, for example, after that Summer Fae died and she held his hand until he passed away, Tamlin asked her a question of why would she do that if she hates all of fairy kind? And she said it was because she would want someone to hold her hand if she was dying. And it's just the fact that all of these moments she had with Tamlin where it seemed like they were opening up to each other just kind of came back with Rhysand naturally. Like, she didn't have to tell him any of these things. He was just doing it for her without being asked, without knowing her, and he didn't have to be prompted. I just thought their chemistry was a lot deeper than what she had with Tamlin, especially given the last chapter, which seems like there might be some kind of mate bond going on between them. I've read a lot of fantasy shifter books, and that looking into her eyes, shocked, bewildered, stumbling back, just screamed the mate bond to me. And I also kind of felt bad for him in that moment because you could tell he hesitated, and without having read the second book yet, I feel like he hesitated because he was bound to Amarantha for however many decades he was, and now he was bound to the powers of this mate bond when he was finally getting the chance to break free. So this potential romance blossoming between them is probably the only thing that's going to keep me wanting to go to the second book because of the promises of their deal. Ooh la la. Like, I'm so excited. I cannot wait to see what their interactions are going to be when she has to go to the Night Court. Overall, he's just amazing. I love him. I can't wait for them to start spending more time together. Now, what I didn't like was that bitch Nesta. If she was in more of the book, I don't know if I could have gotten through it. I hate her. Her demeaning comments towards Farah, her pompous attitude, especially with her being the oldest, like, get yourself together. Are you not embarrassed? At the end, she redeemed herself a little bit, but not enough for me personally. Like, I'm not even sure why she's so protective of Elaine, but with Feyre, it's like there's this huge rift. Maybe we'll get into it more as the series goes along, but it just seemed really unwarranted for me, especially since Feyre was the one keeping their whole family alive. And she was actually the main reason I hesitated picking up this book like a year ago when I first heard about it, because I really do not like characters like her. And from what I know about this series is I think she does become kind of like a main character, which I'm not looking forward to. But I also hear like she's supposed to have a come to Jesus moment. She's supposed to be better, get her shit together, and there's just like a lot of character growth for her. So maybe she'll be less annoying in subsequent books in the series, but I don't know. So to summarize, world building and plot, they were okay. It could be a little bit slow at parts and others could have been cut out or condensed. And something that was really important was I did not have that feeling of, oh my god, I cannot put this book down. It is just so good. I'm going to stay up into the wee hours of the morning reading this. I did not have that feeling. It took me a couple days to get through actually, when it should have only taken me a day. So it was just meh. I wouldn't read it again. I do hope the rest of the series is better. I think I'm going to give myself a little bit of a break, just because I don't want to jump in from one book to another. So 3.5 painting soliloquies.